We've been traveling with a wheelchair for 5 years
5 years
now.
now.
Today, we're going to talk about
The top 10 things that we wish we knew.
before we started traveling.
We are at MCO, which is the Orlando International Airport.
Flying is one of the things that we get the most questions about.
Right.
And for good reason. It is very daunting to think about flying when you are a wheelchair user or with a wheelchair user. And so today we're going to talk about some of the things that we wish we knew, things that
Ahead
we've
of time.
some of them we've learned the hard way, and so hopefully you can feel more prepared the next time that you are going to the airport.
One of the things we want to talk about is choosing the airline. Not all of them are created equal, but some of them stand above and go beyond.
There are some airlines that actually hold special seats for people who are in wheelchairs or have disabilities to make sure that they have enough different kinds of seats to
Right.
meet certain needs. There are other airlines who have chosen to not adopt the FAA's voluntary regulations around wheelchairs and patient rights. So it's a wide gamut, and
Yeah.
you really want to make sure that you,
Do your research to make
yeah.
sure you pick the right one.
And if you'd like us to get into some of the specifics about different airlines and how they handle disabilities, let us know in the comments. Our second tip is that when you are booking, be sure to clearly communicate your needs. Think
Right.
about, what are you going to need? Are you able to transfer into a seat by yourself? Or do you need someone to help actually lift you?
With an aisle chair.
With an aisle chair? Well, but actually lift you to get you into the seat.
See.
Are you able to walk at all? Are you only able to walk a little? If you book online, there's going to be a series of questions. And I think
Yes.
that's a fine place to start for many airlines. Some airlines, you're going to want to go ahead and call them. But for a lot of them, you can start it online and then finish by calling and following up.
With the
Some you don't
agent.
even have to do that. There's going to be a series of questions. And one of the questions is going to be about, are you bringing your own wheelchair, or something about, how much help do you need?
Right.
And there's, for example, you might see, I can walk to my chair, I cannot walk. So let's say that you are semi ambulatory, but you're really not comfortable, spending the energy on when you know it's going to be a long travel day. You don't want to spend that energy trying to walk to your seat. You'd be much better off if you got an aisle chair ride to your seat. Just select can't walk. It's
And
okay.
yep, and they will do all they can to help you move from your transfer from your wheelchair to the aisle chair, from the aisle chair to your seat. That's what their job is. That's what they're going to do. So you have to clearly state this when booking and making your
Mhm.
reservation.
Right. And don't feel like saying I can't walk is some sort of like lying. Like, okay, yeah, you can take a couple steps, but the reason they have the option can't walk is to say this is a person who needs full assistance. You're that person. So don't take the words super literally. Just say I can't walk.
Another tip is you should book directly with the airline. Try not to use third-party sites when doing this, because when you book directly with the airline, you basically put your needs, they understand, have all the forms, have all the check boxes in front of their
Mhm.
system. Booking with a third party through like Expedia or Travelocity or whoever, they may not have the same check boxes for you to put on there that you need wheelchair assistance.
Well, not only that, but when you book third party, to include booking through a travel agent, when you book third party and you are at the airport and there's a problem, let's say you miss your flight, let's say they were oversold or the flight got canceled because of weather, what have you.
But
If you booked third party, they're going to tell you to go call the third party. And then the third party is going to call the headquarters, and the headquarters is going to call the airport. And by that point, all of the seats that they had that they could put people on are gone, because they helped the people that booked directly first. I'm saying this as a travel agent. Do not book airfare through me. Right? Like, I'm not getting commission on a flight because I don't want that. Because if you call me at 3 a.m. and you say, hey, Brooke, we're stuck in the airport, all I can do is call the 800 number and say, hey, she's stuck.
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the same kind of powers that they have at the airport when you talk to the agents at the gate, right, where you actually get on the plane. When you talk to those agents, they have a lot of autonomy, a ton.
Yes, they have a lot of control and power to make changes and like modify things.
They can move
So,
people, they can bump people, so always be nice to them,
oh, you're nice to them at the
because
gate, not at the counter, at the
yeah,
gate.
yeah,
At the
not
gate.
at counters. At the gates, they have a lot of autonomy and power at the gate, and so if you have a problem, go talk to them. Don't book third party. It is not worth that Expedia discount to do that. And
Save that.
again, I'm saying that as somebody who would make commission off of that.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Another thing is know your wheelchair dimensions. This is important for when you check in. They're going to ask you about battery size, battery wattage hours. Is it liquid? Is it dry cell? Lithium ion? Know all this, the weight, dimensions, height, and all that. Foldable
Mhm.
because they create a profile for you. We learned this just recently that I have a profile with Delta that in their system they have my wheelchair weight and other information like that.
Some airlines do that. Not
Okay,
all of them do that.
okay. We just recently know that. So that's why you need to know your wheelchair dimensions for the airline. They need to know how
Mhm.
heavy it is, how it will fit in the hold and all that.
Mhm.
So know your wheelchair dimensions, have it ready for them, go onto the manufacturer's website and have all the information available. Put it in your phone or print it out. Either way, you're going to need this when checking in at the airport.
Speaking of dimensions, so two things. One, if you have a power chair with a back that does not fold, you need to pay very close attention to whether or not your wheelchair is going to fit standing up
In the
in
hold.
the door to get into the airplane. Because if not, they will put it on its side. And I'm guessing you don't want that. So you need to be very careful about that. I often counsel clients through that process because it is so important to make sure that you fully understand and also know that sometimes they change plans. Today, we were supposed to go on one plane and then we ended up on a different plane. And that could change the dimensions of the door hold. So, need to be very careful about that. You need to make sure you know your chair well. And our next tip is to print out and label your chair with the information about your chair. Adam's wheelchair, through Will, they actually have a sheet on their website, Airline Handler's Guide to this wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so we printed that out. And then we also, okay, and then we also went and got the airline. So each airline, well, not each, many of the airlines have a form on their website that you can fill out and bring with you with all the information they're
They're
going to
going to
need to know.
ask for, yes.
They're going to ask again. They're not going to like
Just
just know
know.
just because you filled out that form doesn't mean they're not going to ask you 6 times how much does your chair weigh. Like just know it.
Right. So you pass them the form, and they can see on there it's their own form. It has weight, wattage hours, dry cell, removable lithium ion, and all that.
Mhm.
So on their own form, they have that they're going to ask you the same information again. So you're just going
Eight
to have it
times.
printed out. So just have that ready to go and give it to them.
So what I did is I took the chair manufacturer's form and I took the airline form and I put them back to back in a pocket folder that we then attached to Adam's chair so that when the chair leaves our possession and they take it downstairs.
And the ground crew can look at that form and see what it is,
And
how
we've
to lift
actually
it.
watched them do that. Like when you've got this paper hanging off of it and they read it and they go, oh, okay, I'm supposed to lift it here and here. And I'm very specific about, I drew little circles about like lift it here and lift it here.
Yep.
So even if you don't have, even if your wheelchair manufacturer doesn't have that kind of form, you can still, get creative and print out a picture of your wheelchair and put arrows and, do what you got to do to tell people like, this is how you lift it. This is how you, if it seat folds, this is how you fold the seat. Like you want to make sure that if you are not there, because you're not going to be, that someone knows how to treat that chair properly.
Right.
And so
Right.
having something physically attached to the chair, we got little metal rings. I will put in the comments the supplies that I use to make this work, because we used to try like taping it to it and all
Yes.
these things. And then
The
after many times doing this, I got a little smarter. So I'll put those supplies because they've worked really well. We've been, using them for about 2 years now. And as long as he doesn't lose them, because I did do one for, like, he has two chairs that we travel with, and so I did a little packet for
for each
each
type.
of the each chair, but then times the like 4 or 5 airlines that we frequently use, so that he would have both. And then I did another one with the airline, the manufacturer's form on both sides, because in case we take an airline that we don't normally take or something. But it's come in handy quite a few times, and
Yes, it
so
has.
labeling that is super important.
The next thing you need to do is request an aisle chair. When you reach out to your airline to request assistance, be explicit, say you need that aisle chair,
Mhm.
because there's a separate part of it whether you request wheelchair assistance versus an aisle chair, because it's unfortunately, I don't know why it's not. It is, I can see the difference why they're separate, but you need to request aisle chair assistance so you can have that little tiny cart thing ready to go when you get on and get off the plane.
There will be different ways that the airline will talk about this. So, wheelchair assistance means you're going to sit in a wheelchair near the check in desk, and they're going to wheel you through
Push you to
TSA
airport,
and
yeah.
then wheel you through up into your gate. That can be super helpful, especially if you are traveling without your wheelchair, which is sometimes a really good way of avoiding the whole folding, putting sideways thing, is to like leave your chair at home and rent a chair where you're going. And then, so maybe we'll do a different video to talk about that, because we've definitely done that before. The aisle chair will also sometimes be called a lift. Now, this is again one of those times where don't let yourself get too caught up in the term. I always say that Adam needs a lift. He doesn't actually need someone to physically pick him up and put him down, but that tells them that they need the person, the strong
Big burly
person.
dude.
Well, it's not always a dude, and it's not always really. Women can be very strong.
Actually, I did your stand correctly.
But that means that they need two people with the aisle chair to come assist you. And then when they get there, they're going to say, are you able to stand up, or do we,
Oh
right?
yeah, how do we
And then
help
you
you and
can
stuff like that?
explain, what you need. And if you do need to be lifted, then okay, right? They can do that. If you do need to be lifted, think about whether you want one of those harness things so that make it easier on yourself. Now, there's a third option. If you need help getting down the jet bridge, but then you're okay to stand up and walk through the airplane, maybe you're like furniture walking your way through it or whatever, that is an option too.
Yeah.
Usually, Adam will be in the aisle chair. They also call it a straight back. Adam will be in that and always goes first, because they always do the straight backs or the aisle chairs first. And then behind us will be a line of people who are being escorted in the transfer chairs, which are like the airport's chairs, but they have to get up.
Yeah.
So know which one you want, whether you want an aisle chair to go all the way to your seat, and then you're going to move yourself, or whether you need an aisle chair to go to your seat and they're going to lift you, or if you just want a chair to get you to the plane door and then you're going to walk it.
Just be aware.
Yeah,
Just
be aware
of what you need.
and be clear in what you need.
One more thing that we've learned recently is that you can bring a dedicated medical bag.
I don't know how recently we learned that. We've been doing that forever.
Okay.
We've been doing that since his wheelchair, but okay.
So yes, a dedicated medical bag. This means a bag that's exclusively and dedicated only to your medical needs.
Mhm.
Only once have we had someone say, "Hey, can you open that up?"
But you need to be prepared to do so.
You need to be prepared to do so. And we were like surprised, like, I said it's medical, yep, but I guess unfortunately there's people out there who try to take advantage of it. But yes, be aware that if you do check a medical bag, be prepared to open it up to show them it's only medical.
And to be clear, the point of the medical bag is that it does not count against your luggage allowance. So if you don't have to pay for a second bag if you need a second bag for all your supplies. And by medical, again, don't get tripped up on and being too literal here. So, for example, Adam has a pair of Crocs that he uses in the shower because without them, he would fall.
Oh,
Anyway, um, I put those in the medical bag, and that's
yeah.
never been a problem, right? Because it's related to his medical issue. So it doesn't all have to be, catheters and whatnots, right? But it all does need to be related to your medical condition. So, you know, be careful with that because if they see something that is clearly not related to your medical condition,
They
they
may,
will charge you
yeah,
for a
yeah,
second bag.
yeah.
So if you're doing the dedicated medical bag, make sure that everything in there is justifiable. Have an explanation. We were going somewhere hot and he can't cool himself down, and so I had a fan in there. And that time that we opened it up, the fan was sitting on top, and she like kind of made a face, and I was like, he's unable to cool himself, and so we need the fan for him to be able, to be outside. And she was like, oh, okay. And then she moved on.
Right.
So again, just be prepared with a justification
For your dedicated medical bag.
Yeah, for anything
Okay.
in your dedicated medical
Yeah.
bag. But that is true whether you're going to carry it on or you're going to check it. It doesn't count against your allowance. So like when you're allowed like one carry-on and one personal bag, you could have another medical bag. And be judicious about whether you check the medical things or you carry them on. We like to split them up. So we will have enough supplies in his carry-on or if we're doing a medical bag that we're carrying on. If we're only doing one medical bag, we carry it on all the time. If we are going to Alaska and we've just got a bazillion bags, then we will put some supplies in one, and then we might put other things in his checked bag or something, but like have enough for what you need because
you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you're not going to find catheters on a cruise ship.
No.
I mean, they have a lot of things, but that's not going to be one of them. So,
No.
Be prepared.
The next thing we would stress highly important is arrive early and communications. Arriving no one likes to arrive super early to the airport, staying in the airport and like just hanging around. But it is critically important because you never know what's going to happen. Either it's delays or cancellations, and the earlier you know, the quicker you can get on that next available flight.
Yeah.
So arriving early is critically important. They say 2 hours for domestic and 3 hours for international. That's a good rule of thumb.
That should be your minimum, right? So for some people are like, okay, that's a guideline. I'll get there an hour and a half. Like we try to not miss that 2-hour cut, from takeoff, not 2 hours from boarding. Sometimes Adam likes to confuse me and say like, oh, boarding's at this time, so we should be there 2 hours before that. But also we travel a lot and we have TSA pre-check, which we do recommend. That's not an official tip, but that's a bonus because it does speed things up. And
getting through security, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Adam still gets a pretty extensive pat down because he's not going through the machine, but TSA pre-check has come in clutch many times. You definitely want to make sure that you are making that 2 hours your minimum. And then, because also remember that if you haven't flown with a wheelchair, this is going to be hard. I'm always exhausted after. I mean, we just got off a flight and then we sat here for like half an hour for me to like collect myself. And Adam went and got me coffee, because he's wonderful. But it's a lot.
Sorry.
You are.
Star Wars reference.
Oh, okay, I get it. But it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, even just like the extra bags and all of that. I mean, we got a suitcase that actually hangs on the back of his bag, so that makes it a little bit easier. But I still have to like load it on there and hook it and put all the things and make sure it doesn't fall off. And so it's a lot. Especially if you're traveling with a small group or not a lot of people that can help you, and so just get there early and relax. Get your coffee. Just like take the time to just
Be there
power
early,
down.
prepared, and ready.
Yeah,
Yes.
because the stress of not doing it, it's just not worth it. It's just
Yeah.
not. And
Yeah.
I am not a punctual person, but I try my hardest to be here at that 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
The next tip is to familiarize yourself with the Air Carrier Access Act. Now, this is something that passed in early January prior to the change in administration. So it's unclear whether this will remain as it is or there will be changes.
Right.
And, hopefully it either gets better or stays the same. The act goes over rights and responsibilities of transporting passengers with disabilities. I think I'll do a separate video about this because I think it's a big deal, but Google it and familiarize yourself with it so that if something goes awry, then
You know what your rights are. You know what they have to do. Because that's important that just because they say the airline says you got to get off if your wheelchair's not there, but there's a whole bunch of rules and stuff in there that they need to follow to make sure that you as a paying passenger, as a person with a disability, they need to treat you a certain way. Okay?
And at this point, I should have said earlier, we are talking about domestic flights here or flights leaving out of the U.S. Things will work differently at international airports. So we're not covering that. We're talking about U.S. airports. Finally, is just prepare for the unexpected. Assume things will go wrong. And I mean, granted, if you are someone who's disabled or you are the loved one of someone who's disabled, you probably do this already. I'm gonna guess. So just expect that things are going to go wrong and prepare for that. Go early. We are going on a cruise, and so we're coming a day early because
you must come a day early. You must come a day early. Don't try that same day flight because if it's something, a delay happens, the boat's not going to wait for you.
All right, that's another video.
Okay.
But yes, prepare for the unexpected. Prepare for things to go wrong. Have backup plans, and
when anything goes right,
then
happy
you're good.
noodles.
So we hope that these tips were helpful to you as you're thinking about traveling. If you haven't traveled yet with a wheelchair, the most important thing is
reach out to Brooke, and she will help you set everything up.
All right, fair enough.
Information is below.
No, that's very true. When folks book with me, I do talk them through the airline piece. I will talk people through it so that they can try to figure out what to do. And I think we will try to do a few more videos about flying because, again, this is one of the biggest questions we get.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, please put them in the comments and we will do our best to answer them in a future video. But until next time,
stay strong,
get creative,
and keep exploring.
We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.